a brand new band of adventurers. Brand new, to be exact. Generated right off the D&D website, which apparently the buddy who generated them didn't quite get it right. But the fun part is that after some editing and fixing the characters and trying not to have them have their primary stat at a 10, seriously, folks, insane. So we got a brand new map, a brand new party, and a one-shot adventure. Still set in the universe because why not? So, my name is Patrick, and here's a one-shot version of my campaign diary. One shot came about because I have a buddy who had family in town and they wanted to play some D&D, and he was looking for a dungeon master and found me. So his family, after rolling up some characters, we came up with a human cleric and a dwarf cleric, a human fighter, a tiefling warlock, and a tiefling rogue. Two of the players were well-experienced D&D players, the rest were noobs. And one was off early on, so we lost one of our players but kept all 5 characters, which was pretty good with what happened in this adventure. So, this map here. So, we went with the map called the Banshee's Tower, which I found on Dyson's Dodecahedron, because that's what they do. That's what he does, is produces awesome maps. And this one just jumped out at me as perfect because it already had a story being called the Banshee's Tower. So, my backstory for this little tower was that there were 2 gnome brothers. One was Grizdrew Firestorm Knackle. He brought his family there, including his dour cleric brother, Frug Knackle. Frug was a worshiper of the gnomish god Ciancaval. Ciancaval, I literally have been coming up with him for the last week. He's the trickster god. He's the god of merriment. He's definitely a patron of gnomes, especially bards, and he plays an instrument that nobody in the world can really describe, except that it appears to be something with keys and a bellows, and it produces wonderful sounds. In short, it's Weird Al Yankovic, and it's an accordion. Hello. Except more gnomish, because I can. There's my next god. Slap that into the gods of Adraeon when I get around to it. Nearly a century prior, something had happened within the tower, killing all the gnomes and collapsing much of it. Over most of the next century, it had apparently become haunted. Things were happening. Creatures were disappearing. Townsfolk were scared away. They started raising money to have some heroes go and clean it out. They'd gotten up to 250 gold pieces by the time our heroes got there. Many other adventures had gone in and been lost. This village was the village of Ravenholm. It's known for having a large population of birds and being covered in bird shit. The quest that they were to go on was to retrieve two artifacts, Grizdrew's robe and Frug's scepter, which were rumored to be in the underground section of the tower. Being gnomes, of course, they have an underground section. So their mission was to collect these artifacts and clear the tower of anything that may be haunting it. The party starts out arriving at the tower, which seems to be 3 stories tall and partially collapsed at the top. They go in and they don't spot the runes that are carved into the ground till those light up and unleash a horde of skeletons. I didn't specify a number, but I figured it was going to be a dozen or 2. It turned out they killed 18 by the time I got done with them. The rogue and the 2 clerics ran to the room where, thankfully, I'd stashed some magic arrows, which would come in handy when you unleash an actual banshee, which has resistance to anything non-magical weapon, and all my characters have non-magical weapons. They holed up in there and started smashing skeletons as they came. My fighter backed out into the entry area, protecting the warlock, and he started slashing. His dex bonus was only a +2. His strength bonus was worse. Thankfully, he had a good constitution and some serious armor, so he was wielding dual swords and fought him, started slashing and fighting. Of course, the clerics, who both had bludgeoning weapons, were a little better at smacking him. It was a few rounds in when, after reminding them over and over, that somebody looked up the Turn Undead trait, which at 5th level, you can kill anything that is CR 1/2 or less. Skeletons are CR 1/4. I judged there were a dozen skeletons within range when the cleric cracked off his turning spell. 10 of them failed their saves and were blown to bits. So it was pretty quick after that. Once most of the skeletons died, they were able to clean them up and poof, gone. So yay, happy, happy, joy, joy. The others explored most of the inside rooms. The fighter went to the room up here at the north, marked 3. So, back to the main map. The clerics and the rogue emerged from Area 2, where they found the arrows, and began to search the other areas. The fighter decided to go around and found a way into Area 3, where he ran into a bunch of rats. The swarm of rats was annoying, and he beat them down pretty easily because he had a good armor class and didn't get slaughtered. The others began exploring the tower. On the ground floor, the clerics were able to pick up magic versions of their weapons. That was kind of the plan, is that they start finding some magic weapons because it gives them a plus, it allows them to kill a monster, and these are 5th level characters, so they would have started to get their magic. They might have gotten a magic weapon or two in prior adventures. But since this is a one-shot, I figured I'd let them find some stuff, because that's always fun. Up on the 2nd level, they were joined by the fighter, which made the party complete. He found a couple short swords, which, being a dual wielder, came in really handy because they went to the 3rd floor. Found a chest. The rogue wasn't able to get it apart right away, but that's probably good because the Banshee showed up. Now, the Banshee in D&D lore is normally a elvish woman who's gotten all sad and mopey and shit, and has turned into an undead creature. This one was a gnome, a gnomish cleric who was seriously off and became a Banshee, because you can do that. They took a couple swings of the Banshee, did some damage, and the Banshee escaped. Now, what I didn't tell them was that when the Banshee escaped, he would get half of his lost hit points back, still keeping him below full, so that they did some damage. But I had to retreat the Banshee within 1 round because the Banshee hit him, scared a couple of them, and then ditched out real quick. I didn't blast him with the Banshee's wail because I wanted to save that for the fun part down at the bottom. Now, the rogue, being the most perceptive of the lot, had found the trapdoor by walking in the room saying, "Oh, there's a trapdoor." Everybody else was like, "Where is it? Where is it? I can't see the trapdoor." She's like, "Right there, dumbasses." So down into the depths they went. The depths weren't that deep. They came down the stairs, discovered areas 8 and 9. In area 9 is a pool that would fully heal any character that immersed in it once. A couple of them immediately got in. The dwarf cleric decided to jump in naked. We then had a discussion whether her beard extended all the way down to her beard. I like that joke. It's a winner every time. So a couple of them got some healing, and they're like, "Wow, this is cool." The ones that weren't injured, of course, got no healing. They went across to Area 7, which was musty and didn't have much in it, but I kind of wanted to leave something for mood. They advanced into Area 10, where suddenly, hey, there was a spectator. Now, for those of you who know, spectators are basically lesser beholders. One of my goals with a one-shot, especially with people that haven't really done much playing, is I want to introduce cool classic D&D monsters. Since I wasn't throwing a dragon at them, and I was throwing a Banshee, one of the two classic monsters that are clearly D&D is the Beholder. But 5th level characters would die if they fought a real Beholder, so it was the Spectator. Now the Spectator, I mixed a little bit of a surfer dude and a conspiracy nut. So he sounded like this, man. "What are you doing here?" "This is a conspiracy!" He was special. Because spectators are not quite right in the head anyway, but they have the hyper-ego of all beholders and believe they are the smartest and greatest. So battle ensued, and shortly thereafter, somebody got stabbed in the eye, and poof, he was dead. But it was cool. I planned on them going on into Area 11, where I had another surprise for them. But no, they went to the corner where there was a grate. They popped down there and went into the cave area. In this cave area, I had another creature that's very classic D&D, although I had never encountered it until a Castles and Crusade session where it dropped from the ceiling and landed. An advantage of building 5th level characters and fixing them at the table, I was able to suggest to take a trait that allowed her to see in darkness, not just dark vision, but in magical darkness. Dark mantles, when they dropped from the ceiling, cast a magical darkness. And when they did that, she was the only one that could see. Luckily, initiative-wise, she was at the bottom. So, as they struggled against the dark mantles, only 2 characters could see could swing at the dark mantles because they were the only ones that knew roughly where they were at. Luckily, as each dark mantle got hit, the dark mantle lost its concentration and down went the darkness. So when both of them were hit, boom, no more darkness, and the dark mantles were defeated easily. Now, I'd put somebody into this room, but I figured by this time they would get to here and it wouldn't matter what happened. So it didn't matter what they would find. But I still had them to face the big bad. So I quickly popped open and was looking for something, and I came across the Berserker Axe. If you understand what this is, then you know what I'm about to tell you. If not, it's a cursed weapon. If you take damage while wielding this, you go into frenzy and you keep attacking until there's nobody in front of you within 60 feet. Notice I didn't say enemies. I said anybody. Yeah, my goal was to basically hit the party and get them kill happy. Then instead of 5 of them fighting the Banshee, it'd be 4 of them fighting the Banshee and what turned out to be the Dwarf Cleric, because she was handling the 200 weapons like a good Dwarf Cleric would. She picked up the battle axe that is cursed and attuned, and we were on the way. They decided to pop up to Area 11. Now, if you look above that, you'll see Area 12 is marked in the middle of a hallway. This is where I decided I was going to put a gelatinous cube and hope somebody would walk into it. However, they originally went to the door between the cave structure and Area 11. The rogue rolled a 1 and broke off a pick and lock, disabling it. The Dwarf Cleric decided to take her axe and hack at the door, and rolled crap. So they gave up, but they made a lot of noise. So when they arrived in Area 11, the only character that was able to spot the gelatinous cube was my rogue. Luckily, she was the person they put in first because somebody was smart enough to know that you put the rogue first, because that's their job, is to find things. The battle ensued. The rogue kept getting attacked by the cube and dodging. The fighter wasn't so lucky. He got stuck in there and was struggling for a couple rounds before they popped the gelatinous cube. With the Battle of the Dark Mantles, the human cleric had been injured. He ran back, jumped in the pool, and came back. The fighter was one of the 2 had been injured and been in the pool already. So he went back, and I got to tell him, the pool doesn't work for you, now you're damaged. They did a little bit of resting, and he got up to full hit points, which was good because things were going to get crazier. Area 13. These are my handwritten notes. As you can see, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 13 takes up half of a page. This is more than I've written for anything else in this tower. Most of them are 1 to 2 to maybe 3 lines if I needed it. I call this the boom room. It's lined with a bunch of pressure plates. Some of them spell out the name of the gnome deity C. Yankoval, tells some other things about them, but they're written in an ancient gnomish script, in Draconic, and in Common. Now, if you knew the language, it required a DC 10 in History, Arcana, and Religion for the Gnomish, the Draconic, and the Common. Now, the Common was going to be easy, because as long as somebody had Religion, and we had 2 clerics, but I figured somebody would have Draconic, and maybe somebody would have Gnomish, so there'd be at least 1 bad roll. The D&D website needs to put more common languages on there, because everybody had Abyssal and Infernal and all that crap, but nobody had Gnomish, nobody had Draconic, and that made the DC 20 for those History and Arcana rolls. They got 2 of the 3 wrong. So the rogue tried to pick her way across because she spotted a panel that might disable things, and it started blasting things. What I was doing was firing random bolts at her. They would shoot and do 1d6 damage, and they could be fire, ice, or force, or sonic damage. It was kind of entertaining. She triggered several times, got hit. They tried the rolls again, still failed. She tried again, got hit once more. Was dodging most of them, thankfully. Finally, they started getting good rolls and were able to get her enough information, so as she got across the room, she was able to dodge the remaining ones and successfully disable the room so that they didn't get fried. I'm glad nobody just walked in, because that would have been hilarious watching things explode on them. Ultimately, they got into the next room, which is room 14, where they get the cloak. So now, with Grizdru's cloak in hand, they were like, yay, we're in good shape. They proceeded down and went to area 15, where, holy crap, it's Frog's scepter! Oh, and behind them, the room that I call the Boom Boom Room starts exploding. And the Banshee shows up, and wails. And 3 of them fail their Constitution save and drop to 0, including both the clerics, leaving only the Rogue and the Warlock to fight the Banshee. The Warlock starts blasting off Eldritch Blast, because of course she does. The Rogue, after a little reminder, hey, I gave them some healing potions back up on the roof just in case something like this happened. She bolts, grabs the potion, dumps it into the mouth of the cleric, who I was sensible enough to suggest that because we were short on spells, that they add Healing Word. And not just Healing Word, but Mass Healing Word as a 3rd level spell. The party is back up and quickly wiped out the Banshee, because the Banshee was already weak, and they were ready for it. So, upon death of the Banshee, in walks the gnomish wizard as a ghost, thanks them for putting down his brother, and the adventure's over, and everybody's happy, and yay. So, to bring this to an end, if you're going to do a one-shot, take what you know, come up with something fun, and remember, it's about having fun, not killing your players. I'm going to try to do that to the main party next time!